Alrighty, welcome back from the episode of Two Plane Sports. Today, it's Bedlam week. It's the last Bedlam that's going to happen, at least for the foreseeable future. I don't feel like this is the last one. There's no way that they're never going to be able to play. I mean, there's plenty of other teams, Florida, Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina. I mean, Clemson, South Carolina, they all figured it out. And I think OU and OSU will figure it out. Just won't be probably within the next 5 years, if I were to guess. So we're going to be talking OU, OSU. We're going to be talking Bedlam, and then also our bets and things like that. I am absolutely tanking. If you guys would be fading me, you'd be up big time this year. That's not advice, but it's just a fact right now. So before we do, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. Make sure to turn the notification bell on so you know when we go live every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Central, where we hang out, talk football, talk OU football, and everything else in between. And also go down in the description. There's a link for the shirt. Be sure to buy you a shirt there. And once we hit 100 sales, we're giving away a signed Brent Venables football. So every shirt that you buy gets an entry into the drawing. All right. Bedlam. OU's coming in, unfortunately, at 7-1, coming off of a disappointing loss against Kansas. Oklahoma State's coming in 6-2. They've really have figured it out as far as they're not running the quarterback trio, and they've got Ollie Gordon, who's playing out of his mind at this point, and they're coming off of really on a 4-game win streak, I think it is right now. So they are rolling, and they seem to be peaking at the right time, unfortunately. Brennan, what are your thoughts on this game, and what do you think?
Well, it's like Lil Boosie said, boys. It's a minor setback for a major comeback for OU. It is a disappointing week last week where the boys dropped one that I feel like they shouldn't have dropped. Can't drop 2 in a row. They know that. I think the Sooners are going to play more like the team we saw at the beginning of the season. I think Ollie Gordon's going to have a day still. I think that kid, as I said in the last stream, is the best running back in the country. You've got to find a way to make Alan Bowman beat you because that guy is average at best. Their receiving core is average at best. Really, Ollie Gordon is doing he's almost winning these games by himself if you look at the numbers. So it's just you can't let him go for 200 plus and 3 touchdowns. And then I think Oklahoma's going to be a good spot. As we talked about in the last stream, I'm sticking to it.
And the biggest question mark, yeah, you got to, like you said, I think everyone's going to agree, no matter what channel you watch, what newspaper, what board you look at, everyone's going to say the same thing Brandon just said, because it's just a fact at this point for Oklahoma State. It's Ollie Gordon and then just 10 other guys that happen to be out there on the field with him and wearing the same uniform. Really, and that's why Oklahoma State looked so bad before he got hot here in the last few games. I think the biggest question mark for Oklahoma is what offense are we going to see on Saturday? And really, like, you look at the last 2 games versus the first 6. In the first 6, they got to come out with a lead. They had an explosive first drive. I think, yeah, or at least in the first couple of drives made some big plays. But these last couple of games, they've stalled out a little bit to start the game. So those scripted plays, those first 15 are going to be important for Oklahoma. Kind of get that lead so that they're not having to play from behind. Because if you give that opportunity to a player like Ollie Gordon, like Mike Gundy's not an idiot, as much as we'd like to say it sometimes. He knows that he's got to feed that hot hand, and he's going to make sure that Ollie's going to be a very impactful player. The defensive line, the linebackers, that front 7 is going to have a tough time. I feel like I've said it almost every single game, but the Big 12 offenses have evolved just magically since Lincoln Riley left. Like when he was our coach, it was just explosive plays. You had to watch out. The defensive backs had a lot on their shoulders every week. Now it seems like you're going up against some very impressive running teams. And maybe that's just because, football kind of goes back and forth and what's popular at the time. But he's not a guy you want to sleep on, because if you even give him a small hole, he's going to punish you.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious. I mean, in Big 12 play, he's averaging nearly 200 yards a game and 8 yards a carry in Ollie Gordon.
He's averaging 8 yards a
is
carry for the season, pretty much. He's at like 7.7 for the season. The dude he's the best running back in the country, and he plays for Oklahoma State. Why?
Yeah, I agree. Why? But yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's one of those things that Oklahoma State has not been hiding it. You know, in the past few games, everyone's known, you know, you got to stop Ollie Gordon. And the last few teams that they played, like West Virginia, they haven't been able to. And you know, that's a sign of a good team is when you're going to do something and they know you're going to do it, and you can't stop it when they do it anyway. And that's what they've been doing, and I expect them to do the same. And I do have concerns that Oklahoma's ability to stop them. I think with the injuries, there's some concern there. You know, it seems like Danny Stutzman's status will be up in the air pretty much all the way up till game time. Even if he does play, there's no way he's 100%, and which is really unfortunate. And you've got Reggie Pearson, who's out for the first half of the game. I do think Oklahoma's going to struggle, and I think that they're not capable, you know, not capable of beating Oklahoma State. Of course not. I do think that they beat Oklahoma State, but this is the type of running attack that's why you need big boys up front, and Oklahoma's in the process of trying to assemble a great, you know, defensive line. They're in the process. They've made improvements. It's just this is where Oklahoma's going to struggle. And I think also Jaron Kanek could potentially be a little bit of a liability here. If Kip Lewis, I think Kip Lewis should play more. And I think Kip Lewis will be good against the run.
We'll see. Yeah.
I mean, Jaron, unfortunately, I think he's just because he's a little bit newer to the position, he's been struggling. And I think Kip Lewis is a little bit more of a guy that's ready to play right now.
Regardless of who's on the field, you've got to tackle in this game. If we tackle like we did against Kansas, we're going to be in trouble. And to go off what Hose was saying is, I agree with that point about the offense having to start fast, and I think get to a lead and kind of try to hold it. Because I think if Oklahoma can be up 10-13 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter and make them kind of be in a passing situation, we're going to like our odds. On the flip of that, if it's 27-14 Oklahoma State with 6 minutes in the third quarter, that's where the panic button almost is going to be getting hit, because they're going to try to do their best to milk the clock, make it go slow, bleed it, and they've got the guy to do it. It's huge for the offense to come out and put the pressure on Oak State, because then, I mean, the defense has their hands full already. If you make it harder on them by putting, you know, you're not scoring at all and you're down 2 scores in the third quarter, it could be a bad Saturday.
Well, and I think it would be surprising if Oklahoma doesn't start on defense. I would assume Gundy would want to try to set a tone and start punishing that defense with Ollie Gordon just throwing out 3 runs in a row, regardless of the result, just to kind of get a feel for that defense. You don't want to put Bowman in a position early to cause turnovers or to turn the ball over, I mean. But for Oklahoma, again, another thing outside of just having a big lead or starting with a lead, like we just talked about, these defensive backs for Oklahoma State are not good. The only quarterbacks and teams as an offense that haven't looked good are Cincinnati, who Emory Jones just is not a great quarterback, might not even be a good quarterback at the collegiate level, and Jaden Rashada, which true freshman, playing a second game of his college career. Everyone else, like South Alabama, their quarterback their quarterback wasn't good, but they ran well against them. That was early in the year. But Rocco Becht threw for 348 against them. Kansas State's Walker Howard or Will Howard, sorry, 152 again. They ran well against them, so they have. I guess they're just really wishy-washy on who's going to play well. If their defensive backs decide not to play well, you got to throw it and throw it a lot. And hopefully we see maybe one or two jet sweeps, just because we know that's Jeff Lebby's favorite thing to do in the world. But if he starts getting cute with those things, it's going to be a problem. Especially because I don't know if you guys ever listened to or watched the Oklahoma breakdown, but Lehman mentioned against Kansas, they basically dared him to do a jet sweep, and he just fell right into that trap because they were playing everyone aggressively in the box, and we're saying, go ahead and throw it over our heads. We want you to throw the ball. He just didn't want to for whatever reason. So you got to extend that field, create more open spaces out there.
You're talking about Oklahoma's offense. I mean, there is a concern that Tolly Walker is a little banged up as well. And, what is his availability? And unfortunately, I mean, are they going to feed Marcus Major in this game where it's just the same thing where he can, fall forward for 3 yards and that's about it? And I certainly hope if Tolly Walker can't go, I certainly hope that it's Gavin Sawchuk. And I don't know why they just decided, throw a few, Javonte Barnes in for a few plays against Kansas. I mean, wow. I just don't understand how a guy like Javonte Barnes coming off of last year, and maybe he's dealt with some injuries and stuff, but I certainly hope he would get more of a run in this game if Tolly Walker's not healthy.
Definitely. It's gonna sound, I'm gonna sound like an asshole, but Marcus Major has no business to be the starting running back. He's made some good plays, but overall I think he's averaging a little bit more than 3 yards a carry. Tolly Walker's definitely, if he's healthy, even 80%, he's got to be the guy at the running back position. And then, it can be any of the other three guys to be the number two to try to give Tawi some rest and see what you've got in the other three, kind of see who's going to be the other hot hand. But the only reason Tawi shouldn't be playing is if he literally can't walk. If he can run and just do something, he might not need to be the guy getting 20 touches, but just to show kind of bring the Oklahoma State defense in a little bit to open up the pass game. Because after last week and the weeks when Tawi does play as the lead back, he's had good games, but he just hasn't gotten those opportunities for whatever reason.
And I certainly hope we're going into, we are in championship November. I would like to see the offensive line finally have the same five play the entire game. At this point, do we just not know what we have, or is it just not that good right now?
I think it has to be the latter. There's no way you don't know what you have going into the ninth game of the season.
But it's hard for me to believe that. Of course you would know and play the best five, and that's it. You got to know who's. But I don't know. That is the most puzzling thing, and I think it's a little bit kind of like the quarterback, carousel that Oklahoma State was running. It's tough for guys to get in the rhythm of the game, get comfortable, and kind of, if they're worried about getting, benched every other possession, I don't know. I think Caden Green needs to start. Savion Byrd, for whatever reason, just hasn't been able to put it together. Caden Green's been solid. It's just,
I think Caden Green's been real solid.
Yeah, I would play him the rest of the way.
I think you too.
But it just seems like that there has to be. There's more to it, obviously, but you would think by November you would have your offensive line solidified, barring injury, and they just don't. I can't remember a last time that an Oklahoma offensive line's been like this.
They don't really have a set offensive personnel throughout outside of Dylan Gabriel. Week in and week out, you really have no idea who's going to be the starting running back. like you just mentioned with the offensive line, it's a mix and mash, not just every week, but seemingly every other drive. You see a couple new guys out there on the O-line, and especially at that position, like you don't see this much rotating unless someone does get hurt. You really see 5 guys like 95% of the game. Unless someone like a huge run play comes up where you have an opportunity to sub someone in and it's not like a 2-minute situation, maybe, but even still you don't see that too often at any high level of football. And even wide receivers sometimes you don't know who's going to be the guy. One week it was Nick Anderson, another week it's Jalil Farouk. When Andrell was healthy, he was the guy. Sometimes Drake Stoops is leading the charge. It's a very interesting way that the offense is being ran, and I don't know if that's Jeff Lebby. I don't know if that's just the philosophy of Venables, like try to get as many guys in to keep him as fresh as possible because he does it on the defense. Maybe he thinks it works well on the offense as well, and he kind of just has that philosophy for everyone. Whoever's call that is for the offensive side of the ball specifically should reevaluate that. It makes sense on the defense because you got to keep those guys a little fresher, and the opposing offense is going to make substitutions anyways. But offensively, to sub that many guys in, especially in those at the offensive line position, just seems crazy.
It does. I don't know. I haven't seen a team like this on the offensive side where you just can't figure it out. And I think they know who the best players are, and I say play the best players.
Play them, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big Drake Stoops week.
Yeah. I think Jalil Farouk will play really well, too. You guys have score predictions for this game?
I think they'll get for 300. What'd you say, Oz?
I was going to say another injury that you didn't mention. That's actually someone coming back from injury, Gentry Williams. We haven't mentioned him in this video. He's going to be huge because he's the guy that creates turnovers in the pass game. Him and Key Lawrence have been the ball hawks for this team. So him coming back is going to be big. Hopefully scares Bowman a little bit to hesitate in making plays.
That and Kenai Walker just has not been that good. Against Kansas, he looked lost, and it was bizarre with that. You wouldn't expect that out of a guy like, Kenai Walker being in the program now for as long as he's had been, and just was bizarre. I just hope Gentry Williams, it sounds horrible, I just hope he can finish the game. It just seems like it's every other game that he's got something, which is really unfortunate for him. So I hope he can finish it because he would be critical. You got Presley, who is a speedster. I mean, Woody Washington's been very steady, but so we'll see. It's and please play Peyton Bowen. I don't really care. Get him on the field no matter what. He's a playmaker.
100%. It's gonna be a fun one. I mean, it's typical Bedlam. Historically, Oklahoma doesn't lose this game. If you look at the series score, it's not really even a rivalry just based off that. But it's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be fun. It's a bounce-back week. I like to think the boys know what's at stake here. They know they can't drop another one. I think they're going to play a little more pissed off having dropped a game. Now they're getting some, and instead of being praised, they're getting a little shit on in some of the national media and stuff like that. I think they're going to have a great bounce-back week. It's going to be high scoring because feels like this game always is. They've got the best running back in the country. I'm going to go something like Oklahoma 38 to 34 or something. 38-34, 38-31, somewhere in that ballpark.
So do you have OU covering?
Yeah.
So it's not 38-34.
Let's go 38-30. 38-30.
Okay. Jose?
I'm going to go, if this offense shows up, it'll be like 45-17.
God,
if it doesn't, it's going to be a much closer game. But if it shows up like I think they will, it shouldn't be close.
The more we've talked about it, the more I'm thinking that OU's not going to cover. I think OU wins. I think it's going to be 34-31 OU.
I'll take any of the three results we just said, but I prefer hoses.
Oh, I agree. But remember, now we're going in the betting section of this, or betting portion of this video. Just fade me. I'm 13, 25, and 2 on the season.
There it
coming
is.
off of a
That's why
1-5
you did
week.
it.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Do it's gonna hit.
I'm taking one for the team here.
So you'll be a real dickhead if you decide to get hot this weekend.
I agree.
We got. We'll let Hose start since he probably has 32 picks compared to our only 5 more.
Yeah,
I've got
Jose, what's
9.
your record?
I'm 27, 40, and 1. Started off decent, real bad last 3 weeks. I brought that number down from like 10 to 13 every week to 6. I don't think I've won more than 3 each week since. So back up to 9 we go. I have Oklahoma covering, like I just mentioned with my score prediction. Shouldn't be close. Then I'll throw in one more. You want me to do one more or 2 more?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one, I have Washington covering 3 versus USC. I know ideally it wouldn't be the best thing for Oklahoma when it comes to the rankings, but USC for this year has really only beat the teams that they were supposed to beat. Last week they struggled against Cal, and typically that game is a lot closer than most people expect, but like it was like 50-49, I think the score was,
and
Cal
almost scores in the 4th. Yeah, they had to come back for that.
Cal almost won. They could have won, or at least tied it to overtime, but they wanted to go for the win at the end of regulation. Kind of live with that result. But the 2 teams they have played that are good are Utah, got killed, and then they played one other one, Notre Dame, got killed. So it's tough for me to see they'd be a good team even at home. And then the other one is Missouri at Georgia. I think Missouri covers the 15.5. And I even kind of hope they win, but I at least think they cover.
Brandon, are you done texting your girlfriend?
Yeah, I also have the Washington game. I'm picking the Huskies as well, -3. That being said, I hope we're in a position Saturday. I hope the Sooners take care of business because they're after us. It's gonna be weird, and it's gonna be like it's just going to feel wrong, but I think we're going to all be pulling for USC if Oklahoma takes care of business. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the Sooners win, and then hopefully USC actually wins, but I just don't think USC is very good. I think Washington will beat them by 100.
Beat them by 100, huh? Well, I'm on the other side of this. I'm taking USC +3. They're at home. Not saying it's much of a home field advantage, but much like Oklahoma, Washington has not looked great the past few weeks. I think Penix has taken a few steps back. I just think that USC has nothing to lose. And I think Caleb Williams they're good enough to score a ton of points. And, really, the last 2 weeks, Washington's barely been able to hold off ASU and Stanford. And they're not very good football teams. So, not saying USC is, but I think USC ultimately wins this.
My next game is Arizona State at Utah. I've got the Utes covering 11.5. It's at home. Outside of last weekend, don't really lose at home. And they're probably going to come out in front of their home crowd playing a little bit angry because they did get embarrassed by the Ducks last weekend to get in front of those fans. So got to come out and make a big statement.
Yeah. I got Kansas State +4 against Texas. Kansas State's playing really, really good football right now. Texas, they look great against Brigham Young, horrible against Houston. They are still playing a backup quarterback. I think the Wildcats go in there and steal a close one.
I have the exact same thing, Brandon. K-State's beaten the last 2 teams 82-3.
Me too.
So they're easy. It's back on you, Brandon.
Okay. Well, then I've got Mizzou's going on the road at Georgia. I understand it's a hostile environment in the number 2 team in the country, number 1 AP poll, whatever you want to look at. Brock Bowers is still hurt, I believe. I don't think he's playing in that game. Missouri is, for some reason, playing good football, and none of us picked that. We thought they'd be god awful. They're just getting a lot of points. I think I have it at plus 15.5. I don't think that Missouri is going to go into Athens and win, but I don't think they're going to get beat by 2+ touchdowns. So give me Mizzou plus 15.5.
I have the exact same thing for the same reasons. Hose?
Said that one earlier. I'm going to do something crazy this week. I'm taking the Iowa over.
No, that's
31
crazy.
and a half.
No, is that allowed?
I know it's crazy.
It must be set at
listen,
3.
That defense is going to score plenty of points. Probably one special teams touchdown, and they did get rid of their offensive coordinator, probably the person holding them back. They might not have the best offensive talent, but they do have 11 warm bodies out there going to play football and competing. They should normally be able to score at least 1 or 2 touchdowns. They might score 21, 24, let Northwestern score a little bit, and they just get right over to like 32, 33 total points in the game.
All right.
I've got Kansas plus 2.5 against Iowa State. I think they're going to beat the Cyclones. Maybe I'm just thinking they're a little better than they are because they beat us.
Yeah.
Daniels might be back for that.
Maybe. Alabama, LSU. It's in Tuscaloosa. I feel like this is a game that Alabama wins, unfortunately. A game of -3.
I have the same thing. For the same reason.
My next one, how many do you have left from?
One.
You have 1 left? All right, I'm going to do 2 then. My next 2 are Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. I think it's at Oxford, so I'm going to go ahead and just favor the home team there. Ole Miss has looked good this year. Lane Kiffin is hilarious to watch in press conferences. I think on Monday, he was asked about A&M and how to prepare for him. He said you'd assume they'd be top 10 given their top 10 recruiting status every year. That's hilarious. Taking more digs because I think he was one of the first guys that came out and said they're basically buying their players. So it doesn't seem like he's a big Jimbo guy. Then the one after that is South Carolina versus Jacksonville State. If South Carolina can't even cover, it's 15.5. If you can't cover against Jacksonville State, and I don't know much about Jacksonville State, but you would assume SEC school. I don't know where. I don't even know if that's a Group of 5 school. They should cover 16. Yeah. They should win by 16. And if they don't, Shane Bieber's probably going to get canned either after the game or at the end of this year.
He's going to come back and coach special teams in Oklahoma.
Be cool with that.
Yeah. I've got my 6 done. I did OU, Kansas State, Mizzou, Kansas, Washington, and Bama.
Yeah. And my last one is Penn State, Maryland. I'm taking the Nittany Lions -8.5, Drew Aller. I just don't think Maryland's that good of a football program. And I know they're on the road, but, Brandon's probably fist pumping right now.
Baby.
He loves his Nittany Lions. And Hose, you love the Nittany Lions too.
I've been a fan this year. I think Drew Aller's good.
Penn State is tight. They're a good institution.
And a whiteout game is on the bucket list. Hopefully I can get there one day. My last game for this week is Texas Tech versus TCU. It's in Lubbock. They don't really lose in Lubbock. It's very much like Utah. They win at home. Favored by 3. Hopefully that line kind of falls a little bit towards TCU's side so that they can just win by a field goal, but I'd be okay with the push there.
All right. Well, we made it through. Jose's got his back to 9. He claims that this is the reason why he was struggling, so we allowed him to go back up, and we'll see him go 1-8 this week, and it'll all be good.
Hey, as long as that one is OU.
True. Well, I don't have anything else unless you guys do. If not, Brandon, do you want to do the video challenge?
Yeah, this is the one I'm going to get your guys' take on it too, just because, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Brum, it is the last Bedlam for the foreseeable future, because this game is no doubt going to be played again at some point in time. So we are definitely going to see these idiots again. But, leading up to now, of all the Bedlams we've watched, you talked about, been all this shit. And the end of video challenge is, what is your favorite Bedlam moment? I think it's It's hard to beat Samaje taking a knee just because we were in attendance for that one. So if I'm going to go first, I'm going to steal it, boys. Samaje taking a knee is my favorite.
That's mine too. I text it to one of our friends every year at the conclusion of the game.
I think one of the cooler moments was when Sam Bradford got flipped. You know, when he did a flip on the sidelines or whatever. I don't know. I mean, there's so many good moments in Bedlam, and honestly, we really sat down. We could really think about it, but that's one of my favorites. I mean, Samaje is always a good one. And I think Hollywood Brown taking that slant going.
That whole game, I felt like it was just filled with moments. Just because that's really went off for the first. Who is this kid and all that stuff? Because Hollywood had a day. Yeah, that's a good one.
Can I add to this end of video challenge as well?
Of course.
So today or Wednesday, in the morning, I think it was Dalton something, one of the offensive linemen for Oklahoma State.
Cooper. Is it Dalton Cooper?
Dalton Cooper. Yeah, that sounds right.
I think that's his name.
He said that 95% of OU fans didn't even go to school there, and every single Oklahoma State fan definitely attended the university. I know that's not a fact because the one OSU fan I know didn't even consider going there. But why are you an Oklahoma fan? Is it because your family? You went there? I know I'm an OU fan because I went to school there. But I feel like everyone's got a different story. And then for him, he's an Oklahoma fan. Went to Oklahoma State. So
that's true. If you haven't seen his tweet, it's pretty good. He's talking about the good old Baker Mayfield days and saying that he loves Baker Mayfield pretty much, which is what he tweeted.
Yep. All right. We made it this far. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. And be sure to turn the notification bell on so you know when we go live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. And also check in the description for the link to the purchase T-shirts. Free Brent Venables football drawing to once we hit 100 sales. And you could be a lucky winner.